once again to Retire Your Way, powered by Thrive, with the founder of Thrive, Ben Heizer. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. Ben, how are you doing again this week?
Spike, I'm doing fantastic. How have you been, sir?
Very good, very good. I've been excited about this continued announcement of your Thrive organization. Yeah. And you say that it is retiring your way for the audience members out there. It's putting together a plan for your strategies, your goals and objectives. And it is powered by Thrive. What exactly does that mean?
Well, Retire Your Way is all about you. It's your dream. What'd you get up and go work for? You've put a lot of time into saving the wealth that you have. What Retiring Your Way is what's your goal? What do you want to accomplish with that wealth? And our company has a system. It's called Retire Your Way. And what we do is we hit the 5 critical areas necessary to have a successful retirement. You know, on average, the folks that call us and get a hold of us that actually employ a plan of ours will save over $500,000 more through their retirement years. And that is fantastic. So stick around. Let's talk through some wonderful things, but we want to help you. Our company Thrive is here to help you thrive. Most people are going to shrink up and survive in retirement because they're not prepared for certain things. Spike and I are going to hit some topics today to make sure that you have a retirement plan that is qualified and accompanying for you.
We've got fantastic stuff that you have put together here today. I'm really excited as well. You know, we know when we need to get to the gym, right? Yeah. The doctor says, hey, we got to lose a couple of pounds. You know when you've got to go take the car in, it's making a couple of noises that weren't familiar. But how does somebody know when they actually do need a financial planner? You were talking about somebody who's saved a certain amount, getting ready to retire, but there's so many more things that we need to consider in today's retirement. How does somebody know when to pick up the phone and call?
Well, you know what, Spike, that's a very interesting question because everyone's in a different situation. Our knowledge base is different. And so the first thing that we have to do is understand where you're at. If you're 10 years away from retirement or already retired and you've saved up at least $500,000 or more, you need a plan for that wealth outside of your house. We have to structure it differently than we did in the past. In fact, you know, the good old days, right? We had the 3-legged stool where we always had Social Security to rely on, a pension to rely on, or multiple pensions. I know we were talking about that before break. And you know, what's interesting is that our savings were just there to accumulate. And so we didn't really have to focus on a lot of planning. But today, it's completely different. Pensions are typically, you know, very rare.
Yeah, they've gone to the wayside. Maybe a government employee or, you know, our safety and care workers, police officers, firemen, maybe if you work in a hospital, teachers, of course, here in Illinois. But that one leg of the stool, the pension plan, pretty much gone for most Americans. Social Security. Is that just as stable today?
Well, the interesting thing about Social Security is that there's a lot of different information that we get, right? We can go online and search just about anything. And so with that being said, you know, Social Security is one of those things where, I mean, they're saying by 2030, Social Security could be bankrupt. Do I think that the government's going to let Social Security be gone? No. But you know, the thing is that we got to plan for that. Did we think pensions were going to go away? Probably not, but they replaced pensions with 401ks, and now you have to save the dollars and pinch the pennies, and we have to figure out how to stretch those with the right strategies and tools to make sure that you don't outlive your savings, which, as we know, is America's #1 fear.
Right. Well, you're saying that it's America's #1 fear. I wanted to ask you, what are some of the phone calls that you've been getting over the last few weeks? There's a lot going on in our markets. We're going to continue to talk about that all throughout this month. The volatility, what's happening. But what kind of phone calls are you getting right now? What are people most afraid? When you say, am I going to be okay? Is that the question? Or is it what's happening in the markets or inflation?
Well, if you're asking that question to yourselves out there, the thing is you should pick up the phone and give us a call today. You should go visit our website at thrivewealthgroup.com. You should click on the QR code there at the bottom of your page and take a confidence assessment and figure out how confident am I in my plan, or do I even have one? But, you know, Spike, to answer those questions for you, you know, there's a lot of different things we have to look at. People are concerned about the market volatility that we're seeing. They're concerned about, you know, do I have enough money to support the lifestyle that, you know, I wanted to support now that my portfolio is down a little bit? Do we have an income plan? Are we factoring for things like inflation that's, you know, is in some of the highest levels it's been in a very, very long time? And, you know, do we have a plan for our healthcare concerns? And what about taxes going up? And what about just legacy in general, making sure that we have a plan to transition those assets appropriately? So maybe some of you don't want to leave a legacy to your family, but everyone's going to leave some type of legacy. Let's make sure it's about you passing those assets appropriately so it's not disrespecting the time that you put in to save it.
I think from so many of those things that you were mentioning in there, we need to address the fact that retirement today is really different than it was 20 or 30 years ago. Part of it is longevity, which means we're living healthier, which is great. But all of those things that you mentioned in there, folks, I want you to consider that. Are you just looking at how much you've saved, or are you taking into account all of these other factors, including one thing that we haven't talked about yet was taxation. You know, is this part of looking at the Retire Your Way strategy?
So our Retire Your Way roadmap is really like a GPS for your destination from where you are today and where you want to go, which is your goals and dreams. And so what we start with is unpacking what you want to do so we can figure out how much it costs. Obviously, the common theme that every one of us shares is having an income. We all need income. And so what affects our income? Market volatility, inflation, taxes. Again, if taxes are at 90-year lows today, Spike, with our national debt being the highest it's ever been, with all kinds of different economic factors going off right now, one can only anticipate that at the end of 2025, when our current federal tax plan goes before Congress, it's going to be changed and probably not in our favor.
Well, we're going to continue today to talk about different reasons why you out there might need to work with a financial planner, some of the things that would be in your best interest. But before I go out to break here, I wanted to ask you, what exactly is a complimentary review, and how in the world can you do it complimentary? I know it's a lot of work to go through this process.
Yeah, well, a complimentary review is for those of you out there that are thinking to yourselves, do I even have a plan? You know, can you answer questions like this? What's your custom risk speed? Do you know the maximum drawdown in your portfolio? Do you have an income plan that's not only guaranteed, but also increases to help you address inflation and tax concerns? Do you have a plan that addresses taxation, and have you structured that from a tax planning perspective? Healthcare, we need $300,000 plus over our lifetime. Do you have a plan for that? And of course, legacy, how do we pass it to others? Those are the 5 critical points of having a financial plan. And so we're not a cookie cutter big box company. We work with lots of them, but we're completely independent. And so what we're offering today, for those of you out there that qualify, you know, you've amassed a bucket of wealth and you're trying to figure out how to organize it. We're here to help you put those pieces together from a macro perspective down to customizing it to your specific dream. And so what we're offering for those that qualify, if you give us a call, the next 10 callers, 855-855-7655 is a complimentary, custom-tailored written plan from a certified financial planner. And that is something that can typically cost up to thousands of dollars for somebody.
Yes, lots of different places, a large charge for it. And you do that complimentary along to continue working with these folks, because you say this is about a process. It's not about pitching a product to somebody.
Well, Spike, for me, it's not about, can I charge you money for something? What it's about for me is, if we can help you, you'll engage us in services, and that's how our firm gets paid. And so we get paid to help you. And I think that's the fairest way to do business with anybody, is to make sure that if we can put you in a better position, if we can help you organize your wealth, that maximizes it, puts extra couple $100,000 in your pocket over your lifetime, is that worth it to you to pick up the phone, make a change, and see if you can thrive through those retirement years?
Thank you, Ben. We're going to have to take a very quick break. Folks, if you think about what's going on in the markets right now, if you've taken a look at your accounts and you've seen they're 10%, 20% down or more, and you're worried if your money is going to last through retirement, pick up the phone right now. Call Ben right here at 855-855-7655. More Retire Your Way with Ben Heizer when we get back. When we get back from this break, we're going to answer the question, what are some of the biggest mistakes people are making in retirement with their savings? Right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to Retire Your Way with Ben Heizer. I'm your host, Spike Spengel, Chicago, and we're talking about your retirement planning needs. Ben, I wanted to ask, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making, either with their savings or with their own retirement strategy?
Well, you know what, Spike? It kind of comes down to just about anything that you want to be successful in. You have to know your goal. What is your goal? What do you want retirement to look like? You know, as a Division I athlete in the sport of wrestling, my coaches told me, hey, Ben, what is your dream and your goal? What do you want to accomplish in that sport of wrestling? And then we put a plan together, right? The disciplines necessary to get to it. It's no different as we step into our retirement years. So what's your goal? Is it boating, fishing, traveling, you know, blessing grandkids? Is it serving more? What is retiring your way look like? If you don't know, start thinking about it, because if you don't know, I don't know how to prepare you for it. And so the biggest thing is we have to have a plan once we know what we want to do. Once we know what it costs and the income need that we have, you know, a lot of times Social Security is only covering 40% of our income need today. And so we have to figure out how to stretch those retirement savings dollars, put them in the right tool for the right job. And we don't leave any asset class off the table because they have different purposes.
Right. I want to stop you there, because you kind of did two things there. You were talking about boating or fishing or playing tennis or golf or spending time with the grandkids or giving to the community. And then we were talking about Social Security and stretching those dollars. So what comes first for you? Is it lifestyle questions, or is it purely about how much people have saved?
For me personally, it's about lifestyle. I want to know what your lifestyle that you want to live, because it's different than your neighbors and your brother and your sister-in-law and all those different people that give you advice, those armchair financial advisors, if you will, and they all have different goals and objectives, and so with their money. And so what we want to do is understand what your specific goals and needs are, because if we don't know that, how can we tailor a plan to help you accomplish them? And so we start with your dream, with your goal, with your aspirations, and then we figure out which asset classes help us get you to the most successful, organization of that, to make sure that you are thriving through retirement. Because if we're not careful and we have too much money at risk, we can end up losing too much if it's where our income's coming from. Spike, you mentioned earlier, what if you lost 10 or 20%? Well, if your income's just coming from the market, what 20% of your lifestyle, can I ask you, do you want to give up if that's where your income's coming from? Well, I don't know about you. Right. I don't want to give up any of my lifestyle in retirement. We've worked our butts off to get to that point. Yeah. Don't we want to enjoy it? That's the time that we should not be worried about our money. But what I find is that when we don't have a financial plan in place that addresses our growth and risk, it addresses our income needs, it addresses taxation, it addresses our health care and long-term care needs, and addresses our legacy goals. And if we don't have that stuff in place, I find that people find themselves with anxiety, not knowing, feeling uncertain. And a lot of that has to do with having a plan. But how can we create a plan if we don't understand the goal?
Right. Let me ask you a little bit more about that, because you said in there, in the whole wealth of all of the things that you cover by the Retire Your Way system, you said healthcare. Now, you're not a healthcare provider. You're not. How do you address healthcare? Is this a different kind of savings vehicle or different bucket of money? How do you address?
Well, that's a great question, Spike. So at the end of the day, healthcare is a need that we all have. It's going to cost you money, right? So Medicare is going to charge you when you turn 65. Before that, you're going to have to figure out different healthcare options. We do have healthcare specialists on our team that can help you, either whether you're before retirement age or if you're at 65 and you have Medicare. Well, then you got things that Medicare doesn't cover, that we need to add Advantage plans or medical supplement plans or something like that. Then we have long-term care insurance policies potentially that you might want to add to that mixture. And all of these things cost us dollars and cents out of our retirement savings. And so it's going to chip away at our income need and goal. And so if you want or you need some of those items inside of your world to make you feel secure and confident to go and live the lifestyle that you want to live, we have to address that when we're looking at our income and our growth goals. and our tax goals.
I want to be clear for the folks who are out there right now who are sitting at home watching this program that you're not just talking about the economics of what's going on. You're a financial planner. You do this every single day in the offices as you help people figure out how to best draw down from their savings, use other vehicles to maximize their own retirement. How in the world do you do that, though, for the hundreds of different people you help with? I mean, is it kind of a cookie-cutter system, and you go, oh, I've got this one, or this one? It's got to be different for everybody. It sounds complex to me.
Well, there's a lot of complexity to it, and one of the nice things today, Spike, is that technology allows us to pull data in at rates that we couldn't do before when we have to do manual input of everything. And so we use technology a lot to help aid us in a custom approach with somebody, but everyone's different. Everybody feels comfortable traveling at a different risk speed between 1 and 99. 99 is our most aggressive speed that you can travel. 1 is the slowest. People are in between. Some people want all their money at risk. Some people want a portion of their money at safety. What we find is that all people need income. And so whether or not your income is covered by a pension and Social Security or rental, or you're just drawing it from your savings and hoping for the best, having a plan of attack for that is going to be critical and important.
A silly question maybe to you as a financial planner is the money inside my accounts, is that going to be enough to power my way through retirement? Or do we need to start thinking about some other outside tools, maybe such as annuity or life insurance, or you had also just mentioned long-term care. But I find long-term care policies on their own to be very, very expensive today.
Well, and Spike, one of the things that I like to do is simplify things. And so that's what we do here at Thrive, is we like to challenge the status quo by simplifying. And so it really is about, empowering you with education, helping you, evaluate if you have a need. And if you do, we'd love to help you solve it. And then, of course, executing a plan in your best interest. But, with that being said, I want you to think about playing the board game of life, right? And so there's 2 different sections to that, right? We spend most of our time playing the board game of life. And then winning the board game of life is different, right? That's when, so if you think about it as part of our actual life, not just playing a board game, our savings phase to retirement is really playing the game. Winning the game of life is spending that money and having an efficient model to do so. And the planning for that is so much more critical. It's so much more in depth, and we have to look at the macro picture to help you customize it for you.
So you're willing to do a complimentary review. We're broadcasting all over Chicagoland right now. There are thousands and thousands of people who are watching. So we try to, on a week-to-week basis, limit it to the first 10 callers. Because it is very comprehensive. Can you tell us what things are inside that complimentary review that you're going to look at?
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing that you have to understand. What's the right person to pick up the phone? If you're sitting there, you're 10 years away from retirement, or you're already retired, and you don't have a plan, right? Maybe you have an advisor, but you don't have a written plan in place. The goal here is to help you organize your wealth. And so we're going to take a look at the 5 critical key areas and see, how do you feel about them? What about your risk? How much risk do you have in your portfolio? Do you have an income plan that outlasts you? Okay. What about taxes? Are you doing tax planning, or are you working with a big box firm that won't touch those questions? What about healthcare needs? And what about the passing of your assets on to the next generation if you don't spend them down? And so these are all questions that people come in with. What we want to do is let you know, if you've amassed a chunk of money, I mean, again, you have to have some assets. I mean, at least $250,000 and above before you really need to start having a financial plan in place. But what we do is we offer a custom tailored, it's not a cookie cutter approach, custom tailored written financial plan from a certified financial planner for those that qualify. And what we're going to do in this first meeting is sit down and get to know you. See if there's a need, because we're empowering you with education right now. What we want to do is evaluate the need. And if you have a need, we want to help you solve that need by executing a plan.
Thank you, Ben. We're going to have to take a very short break right here. Folks, what Ben means by saying qualified is, are you serious about retirement? Do you have assets in place you're worried about if you're going to be able to make them last all the way through your retirement years? Then please call the phone number you see right here on the screen. The first 10 callers, 855-855-7655. More Retire Your Way with Ben Heizer, powered by Thrive, when we get back right after this.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
This is Retire Your Way with Ben Heizer. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. We're talking about your retirement planning needs and going through the reasons why somebody might want to work with a financial planner, especially as they get to retirement. You talked about this, I think, when we were off air one time, is that people have so many different accounts today. And, you know, I've got different employers, and so I've got a few different 401ks floating around here and there, and then you have a spouse, and then they have things, and then you have savings and investments and homes and property. It's got to be confusing when you get to retirement to figure out which ones you draw down from. What do you do with that? Do you leave them all separate, or do you try to consolidate?
Well, you know what, Spike, for us, it's about, there's really three colors of money, or you could categorize them into buckets, if you will, just to kind of simplify it. You're going to always have money that you want to grow. All right, so we look at different areas where we grow. We're growing it safely, we're growing it that has some type of risk, and then we custom tailor a risk speed to you and your tolerance for that. That way you can let that money work and grow and breathe over your retirement life cycle. Then we have emergency cash that we need, right? So there's going to be a percentage of our money that we need in an emergency bucket so that we can get those tires on the car, the roof on the house. And so typically that's going to be about 10% of someone's asset base or 6 months of reserves, depending on how much money you've saved. And then lastly, there's an income need. And so sometimes that's filled with Social Security and pensions. Sometimes we need to create a private pension. And so you can have safe growth and a guaranteed income stream that increases over time today. And if you pass away before you spend it all down, your family is going to end up having a situation where they're going to receive some assets as well. And so these are very, very important, where we can take the complexity of what somebody has and really simplify it. It really is that simple that you need to know, am I going to structure this money for growth or income or for an emergency? And so you can try and figure this stuff out on your own. Why do you need somebody like us? Why would you need help from somebody? Well, I don't do my own dental work. Could I try? Maybe. Probably not a great idea.
I hope not. You can't give yourself a haircut.
But you got to be up to date on these things. It's like, why do we go see a doctor? Because they're continuously having education and there's new resources and tools. And why do we do this type of stuff? Well, the same thing. Why do you need a financial doctor or a coach? Because we have the most up-to-date information so that we can help you accomplish your goals. I got to be honest with you. I have no interest in managing my own money when I retire. I want to go enjoy life. I want to go enjoy the goals of traveling and serving and doing the things that really I'm passionate about. What do you want to do? Is that what you want? Because if so, having a financial guide or a coach that's helped you organize a plan to accomplish those dreams is so absolutely critical. And then you don't have to stress about it. You know where your money's at, what it's doing. And when you do that, there's so much simplicity that can be added to something that's so complex. But, Spike, you brought up a great point. Diversification. People confuse the word diversification, and we go diversifying into multiple different people. Diversifying.
Oh yeah, using it. Well, exactly. You know what? I'll do a little bit myself, and then maybe I'll use a financial planner for this, and then I've got a cousin who's also an advisor, and I'll put a little money over here, and now you're chasing down all of this stuff.
Well, and then diversification for a lot of you, and I want you to ask you this question: what does it mean to you? Does it mean I just have my money in a lot of different accounts? If so, do you know if they're correlated and traveling the same direction? If so, you could have 15,000 different funds, but they could all be doing the same thing.
Let me ask you about that word there. You said correlated, and we throw these words around all the time in the industry. But what do you mean? What do you mean by correlated?
They all move the same direction, right? They're flowing the same way. So you could have a whole bunch of different funds, and you could have a whole bunch of different accounts and investments that are all traveling the same direction. So they're all impacted by the same things. Now, if you have uncorrelated stuff, then they're moving in opposite directions. They have different goals. So if the markets are going down, maybe these things are going up. And so that's why we don't look at specific things. We have to understand the difference between a broker, an advisor, and a money manager. And so what we do is we partner with different money managers. These are the people who add diversification of strategy to your portfolio. Look, if you watch the news, right? Fox, CNN, CNBC, Bloomberg, they all have different perspectives, but they're all specialists. Can they all be right or all be wrong? No. Well, how about we employ diversification of strategy by the best financial money managers out there, the people watching your assets at all time. Look, is your financial professional trying to be an advisor and trying to be a money manager? How can they do that and meet with clients at the same time? You ever asked yourself that? These are important things to know. And if you're wondering, I don't know the answers to these things, or maybe I'm feeling a little uncertain with the type of volatility I have in my portfolio, or I don't even have an income plan, I don't even know what we're talking about right now. These are things that you should have in place. What are you paying somebody for if they're not preparing you for taxes and inflation and income and things that allow you to live the lifestyle that you've set out to live? Again, there's a difference between playing the board game of life and winning it.
The last thing I'll ask you before we wrap up your program here today is, how do you help people not react emotionally to what they're seeing on all of those channels? Because I think people want to act and do something to their portfolio because they're seeing it go down. As a financial planner, it's also kind of like you're a financial psychologist helping them out, right? Can you help people stay calm during these times?
Absolutely. So again, what creates uncertainty? Not having a plan. If you know your goal, and we have our money designed for income that's guaranteed and increasing to keep you in check for inflation and taxes, you can go live your lifestyle. That means the money that you're sitting over here for growth, maybe you can take a little bit more risk with that. You're not worried about the volatility because that money we're not touching. Look, the market's about long-term growth. You can also have safe growth, things that'll give you a percentage of the upside without having any risk. And these are things that we want to make sure that you understand, because we want to tailor the amount of growth inside of your portfolio specific to you. And maybe you want safe, and maybe you want something that has risk or a little bit of it. But do you have a strategy? Everybody's going to do well in the market when the market's going up, but do you have a strategy when it flips and goes backwards?
Ben, thank you so much for all of this today. I know that you want to help the retirees of Chicago, so I'm going to remind them of the offer once again. Folks, please call the phone number that you see right here, 855-855-7655, to get your own complimentary retirement review. But you need to reach out to us here. Thrive is a financial advisory firm based right here in Chicagoland to help you retire your way. 855-855-7655. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again next week.